everyone! Today we're exploring about Unit 5 Cognitive Psychology, so let's get to it. First of all, how would you define memory? Memory basically has three stages: encoding, storage, and retrieval. Encoding is the process of learning new information, storage is maintaining that information for future use, and retrieval is the ability to access that info when you need it. Talking about retrieval, there are three types of terms used to measure memory. We got recall, which is retrieving information that is not actually in your conscious memory but was learned previously, such as a fill-in-the-blank question. Second is recognition, which is identifying something we've previously learned, such as a multiple-choice question. Third is relearning, when you learn something quickly because it's your second time or more, going through the information, for example, studying for AP Psychology. So now types of memory. Short-term memory. It temporarily stores a few things before actual storing or forgetting them. Sensory memory is immediate and very relatively short recording of sensory information. Automatic processing is memory that has not been encoded. It simply appears in your brain. You're not attempting to learn it. Working memory is a newer concept of short-term memory that incorporates conscious active processing of arriving auditory and visual info as well as info obtained from long-term memory. Iconic memory is a momentary sensory memory of visual stimuli. Echoic memory is a momentary sensory memory of auditory stimuli. Long-term memory is the permanent encoding of information in limitless storehouse. Implicit memory is the retention of skills learned or classically conditioned connections in long-term memory that is independent of conscious recollection, also called as non-declarative memory. Explicit memory is the retention of facts and perspectives from long-term memory that one can consciously know and declare, also called as declarative memory. Semantic memory refers to remembering and storing a password in working memory. Episodic memory is calling up a visual party scene. A flashbulb memory is a vivid, long-term recollection of an emotionally significant event. Context-dependent memory is putting yourself back in a situation where you previously experienced something can help to prime your memory retrieval. For example, when you visited your childhood home or neighborhood, old memories came back. State-dependent memory is what we learn in one physiological state, whether drunk or sober. It may be easier to recall when we are in that state again. Different types of processes include shallow processing, which is basic encoding based on the structure or appearance of words, and deep processing, which encodes words semantically based on their meaning. Now, to remember things effectively, a lot of people use strategies like chunking, mnemonics, the peg word system, hierarchies, and more. Lastly, the serial position effect refers to our strong tendency to recall the last, which is similar to recency effect, and first items in the list, like primacy effect. Moving on to some key brain parts. The hippocampus. The hippocampus does not store memories forever. Instead, it appears that this structure serves as a loading dock where the brain records and temporarily stores elements to a to-be-remembered episode. The memories then migrate to other locations for storage. This is known as memory consolidation. Scientists discovered that the hippocampus functions similarly to a save button for explicit memories as well. As people form explicit memories of names, images, or events, brain scans reveal activity in the hippocampus and nearby networks. The cerebellum. The cerebellum functions like a mini brain. Its functions include sensory input processing, movement, output, and balance coordination, and nonverbal learning and memory. The cerebellum is also important in the formation and storage of implicit memories created by classical conditioning. The basal ganglia. This is a deep brain structure that aids in the formation of our procedural memories for skills. The amygdala. The amygdala is associated with emotion. Stress hormones concentrate memory, and stress causes the amygdala to start a memory trace, which increases activity in the brain's memory-forming areas. So let's move on to forgetting. What are two types of forgetting? Anterograde amnesia is the inability to form new memories as a result of an injury or illness. Retrograde amnesia is the inability to recall information from the past as a result of an injury or illness. But why do we forget? First, we got the encoding failure. Much of what we sense goes unnoticed, and what we fail to encode goes unremembered. 2 is storage decay. Memory for new information fades quickly and then levels out. 3rd is retrieval failure. What is more important to us or what we have practiced is stored in long-term memory. However, sometimes significant events defy our attempts to access them. So what are two components that have an impact on memory retrieval error? Well, there is proactive interference, which occurs when old information interferes with new information. And then there's retroactive interference, which occurs when new information interferes with old information. The best mnemonic device for remembering this is... yeah. The misinformation effect. It occurs when false information has distorted one's memory of an event. An American psychologist named Elizabeth Loftus investigated the misinformation effect. Two groups of people watched a video of a traffic accident and then responded to questions about what they saw. Those who inquired how fast were the cars going when they collided gave higher speed estimates than those who were asked how fast were the cars going when they collided. When asked a week later if they had seen any broken glass, people who heard smashes were more than twice as likely to report seeing glass fragments. In fact, there was no broken glass. Source amnesia. Source amnesia is a faulty memory for how, when, or where information was learned or imagined, also called as source misattribution. Like, for example,
Hey, do you know Kylie likes to listen to K-pop?
yeah, I was the one who told you that.
Oh.
So now let's move on to more about thinking. So cognition is about all of the mental activities associated with thinking, knowing, remembering, and communicating, which this unit is all about. Convergent thinking is the process of narrowing the available problem solutions to find a single best solution. For example, aptitude tests such as SAT tests, because you need to provide a single correct answer for them. Divergent thinking involves expanding the range of possible problem solutions and employing creative thinking that expands in multiple directions. Imaginative thinking is just displaying creativity to make more connections. So now we're going to move on to terms for processes and strategies. An algorithm is a logical rule or step-by-step procedure that guarantees a solution of a specific problem, like algebra. A heuristic is a simple thinking strategy that allows us to make quick decisions and solve problems. Availability heuristic is a mental shortcut in which we decide things based on emotional cues, familiar facts, and imagery that leave a lasting impression in our minds. For example, if a theft in school happened last year, this year you're still likely to rate your school very low in terms of security. Representative heuristic includes determining the likelihood of an event by comparing it to an already existing prototype in our minds. For example, police are likely to look for people wearing black when finding thieves. This is basically like stereotyping. An insight is when we arrive at a solution to a problem in a sudden or in a quick instance, such as an aha moment. Mostly confused with insight is intuition. So insight is something you gain as an aha moment, but intuition is knowledge what you already have. Confirmation bias is the tendency to seek information that confirms our preconceived ideas while ignoring contradictory evidence. Example of this would be any racial stereotypes. Overconfidence and belief perseverance are likely the same thing, but not really. Overconfidence is the tendency to overestimate the accuracy of our beliefs and judgments, while belief perseverance is clinging to one's initial conceptions even though it has been disproved. Lastly, framing is the way an issue is framed and that affects decisions and judgments significantly. Hope you're not bored yet, but moving on to language. Phonemes in a language is the most smallest distinctive sound unit. Morphemes are the smallest unit that carries meaning. An example of this would be any prefixes. And grammar is a set of rules that help us communicate and understand each other. Two components of grammar is semantics and syntax. Semantics is about selecting the correct word to convey the meaning you intend. And syntax is about putting the words into the correct order according to grammatical standards. For language, there are two main brain parts. Broca's area, it helps control language expression, and Rennick's area, which is involved in language comprehension. Moving on to the last topic, which is intelligence. Spearman's general intelligence, also called the G factor, states that general intelligence predicts our abilities in varied areas. Sternberg's triarchic theory suggests that intelligence is analytical, creative, and practical. Emotional intelligence is that you can just tell by the name, using emotions, social success. So there are different types and kinds of intelligence tests. Achievement tests are exams covering what you have learned in the course, like the AP exam. Alfred Binet's test goal was to measure each child's mental age and the level of performance typically associated with a certain chronological age. An aptitude test can be a college entrance exam that predicts your ability to do college work. The Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, also called WAIS WAIS, developed by psychologist David Wechsler, is now the most widely used individual intelligence test, along with a version of school-age children and another for preschool children. The WAIS produces an overall intelligence score as well as individual scores for verbal comprehension, perception, organization, working memory, and speed of processing. These can reveal cognitive strengths and weaknesses. Also, if a test is standardized, then it is to make scores meaningful as they are compared to a pre-tested sample population. If a test is reliable, then the test gives consistent scores no matter who takes it or when they take the test. If the test is valid, then the test measures what it is supposed to. Content validity is the extent to which a test samples the behavior that is of interest. For example, a driving test has content validity because it samples the tasks a driver routinely faces. Predictive validity is the success with which a test predicts the behavior it is designed to predict. For example, some academic aptitude tests can predict someone's success in school at certain ages. Looking more into intelligence, accumulated knowledge and verbal skills are referred to as crystallized intelligence, and it tends to increase with age. On the other hand, fluid intelligence is our ability to reason quickly and abstractly, and it tends to decline with age. Does heritability relate to intelligence? Yes, your intelligence is 50% genetic. So if asked intelligence, nature or nurture, well, as always, it's 50-50. Well, that is it